And the floor is yours.
Gut, dank, shalom aleichem euch alle. Es ist ein Schod, es ist Tag ein Schod, was generell ist nicht da mit uns, weil ich habe da mitgebracht, das ist ein Buch von Lieder und Shike Driz auf יידיש. Sie heißt die vierte Stunde. Was ist eine Stunde? Und was ist eine vierte Stunde?
First hour. No?
Nein, nein. Ich weiß, was du denkst, aber nein. Eine Stunde ist
Is a string of an instrument.
Gut. Ja, gut. Ja, das kommt von Russisch. Ist das ein bisschen?
Struna is a string.
Gut, ja. So, das heißt, diese Strune is a Fadim, was man findet auf a Kalem, ja, auf ein Instrument. Yeah, sure. So the vierte Strune is, so it's the fourth string on an instrument or a violin or a cello, whatever it is. Das Buch ist herausgegeben geworden in was für ein Jahr? Das ist gewesen in 1969. 1969. Das ist der in der Vein.
Neue Buch.
Ja, ein bisschen neu. Ja, und das ist herausgegeben geworden, Tage in Moskau von sehr berühmten, es ist gewesen eine Matona von einer von meinen Chaveren, und es ist gewesen von einer berühmten Verlag in dem Rattenverband, was hat der russischen Titel, Lily Efscher, du weißt es, Soветski Pissattel.
Pissattel, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
the Russian writer. Pissattel.
Ja, gut.
Never knew it's so good to know languages.
Ja, gut. Ja, Soветski, ich will es schreiben in einem Schmuzing. Soветski Pissattel. Soветski Pissattel. Und wie Lily hat das schon verteidigt für uns. Soветski Pissattel, das heißt russischer Schreiber. Und
Soviet Schreiber.
Oh, gut, danke. Sowjetischer Schreiber, das ist gewesen mein Toes, danke. Sowjetischer Schreiber. Und ich habe es da auf meinem Tisch und ich habe gewollt, dass wir beweisen, Tage zu generell, aber ist nicht mit uns, Heinz. Aber nur gut, es ist schön. Und euch hat zu lernen, ein bisschen Poesie. Ich kann euch schreiben ein bisschen von dem Band und schicken zu euch, euch wie wild. Ich habe euch da oh gut, Emitze weißt, wie man sagt Paperback auf יידיש? Paperback? Man hat
Papier Plitzel?
Ja, sure. Ja, man hat zwei Breires. Ja, man hat zwei Breires. Man kann sagen, so, was ist, lass mich anheben mit dem. Was ist ein Tavel? Der Tavel. Ob ich sage Tavel, wegen was tragst du? Was ist ein Tavel?
So blackboard?
Ja, es kann sein a blackboard or any sort of board that you write on. Ja, das kann sein a Tavel. Aber es ist da noch ein Teich von Tavel. Ja, das ist gut. So Tavel is a blackboard, a board. If I had a board behind me, yeah, that would be a Tavel. Does anyone know the second meaning of Tavel auf Yiddish?
Never heard this word.
Well, there's Hebrew tavel, which means to dip. I don't know if
Oh,
it's
good. Interessant, aber nicht scheich. Ja, gut.
I think it comes maybe from Russian tablieto, like something to write on.
Nicht guter Gedanke. Nicht Tage von Russisch, aber Russisch und Jiddisch nehmen das Wort von Lateinisch. Ja, es ist ein Lateinisch Wort. Nur gut, a Tavel is euch a book cover. So the cover of a book, that Tavel is euch a book cover. So if you want to say a paperback book, you can say Broširta Bichar or Broširte Tauvlen. Broširte, yeah. Or you might hear věichע Tauvlen.
Věichע makes sense. It's soft.
Yeah. So either soft cover, věichע Tauvlen, or Broširte Tauvlen, paperback, literally. Yeah, paperback. Ich habe zwei Bandlieder von Rattenverband, was mein Chaver hat mir geschickt. Als Efscher, ob ihr hat geschickt, lernen ein bisschen Lieder, ich kann schicken den PDF, aber sie sind interessant. Okay, nu gut, das ist gewinnt Tage generell neu ist gewinnt da. Oh, euch interessant, either mir heben noch Tage. Chicago hat gehabt sehr größer jiddischer Verlag. In Remsen verschiedene Verlags von jiddischer Schrift und Bichäer und Lieder, was soll es sein. Tage ist auch, und ich habe da einen Roman, was heißt Ayola von Moshe Tolshin. Und das ist rausgegeben geworden in Chicago in die 20er Jahren. Ein bisschen zoffen von einem Loop. Yeah, it's a publisher that was just a little north of the Loop in the 20s. And anyway,
It's a novel. It's a novel.
It's a in der Emerson is es in der Emerson is es a Sammlung Geschichte, a Sammlung der Erzählungen. Ja, a Sammlung der Erzählungen. Das heißt,
Sammlung ist wo?
was ist a Sammlung? A Sammlung, die Sammlung.
Like an assembly.
Good. Yeah, or a collection. Yeah, a Sammlung.
Yeah,
It's a collection.
collecting,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good. Yeah, good. This is a collection. Yeah. So a Sammlung, often books that are like anthologies or collections of things in Yiddish will be referred to as Sammlung. A Sammlung or Sammlungen in the plural. And it's feminine. Die Sammlung. Die Sammlung. Okay, good. A bisschen Bichäer Vokabular. Oiber hat gehabt Cheshek. Aber genug schon mit dem. Ich bin interessiert zu hören, wen euch. Und nach dem Heint wird sein ein Grammatik-Talk. Ja, wir werden arbeiten nach Grammatik. In der Emerson, unser Thema wird sein Präfixen und Konverben. Das ist unser Thema für heute. Präfixen und Konverben. Wir werden reden wegen dem später. Okay, gut. Efscher Joichenen, was macht ihr heute? Was machst du? Du kennst dich dazu.
Ja, Baruch Hashem, ich mache ganz gut. Mein Enkel ist gesund, mein Weib ist gesund, ich bin gesund. Und täglich ich lerne Tayere und pursue יידישקייט.
Gut, okay, gut. Nu, Tayere ist die beste Schule. Gut. Und euch als pursue Yiddishkeit, Efscher auf Yiddish, wird gewähnt, Efscher Mamsche.
Rofei.
Ja, Mamsche.
Rofei is Hebräisch. Ist da ein jiddischer Wort?
Man wird Efscher gesagt, Mamshich sein mit Yiddishkeit. Continue or pursue one's Yiddishkeit. Or Mamshich sein. Das heißt, yeah, to pursue, continue. Yeah, Mamshich sein. So, and again, these periphrastic verbs, again, when I use this word periphrastic, does anyone know what that means? It's a kind of a weird word.
It's a couple of verbs that make one meaning or what?
Almost essentially that, Lily. Essentially, so that's one verb. So let's take Mamshich sein as an example. Mamshich sein. I'm going to write it out in the chat again. Mamshich sein. You'll notice the first part of this word, mamshich. This comes from
mother.
This word comes from Loshen Kodesh. Yeah, so it comes from the holy language, in this case Hebrew. Yeah, although we should talk about this at some point. Yiddish speakers use the term Loshen Kodesh because the lines and divisions between Hebrew and Aramaic were not essentially very strongly felt in kind of traditional Ashkenazic culture, and also modern Hebrew had yet to appear. So there's sort of this weird kind of middle zone for what this language is actually called. Is it Loshen Kodesh? Is it Hebräisch? Is it Aramaic? Hey, we can talk about that maybe another time. But just good something to think about. Yeah, but yeah, so kommt von Taka von Hebräisch. Und Mamshich heißt auf Hebräisch a continuation, like a furtherance. The most important thing to remember, though, about periphrastic verbs is that whether or not the particle in front of the auxiliary, so when I say auxiliary, I mean sein or haben. This is the helping verb, is maybe the better vocabulary. Sein or haben. They all have this particle in front of them, this word that helps them turn it into a new verb. So mamshich sein, maskim sein, ja, efsher moire, haben. Ja. Alle verstehen die drei?
Can you say more sein also? No.
Nein, wir wollten nicht gesagt moire sein. Ja, es ist Tage moire haben. Actually, lieb haben is technically also a type of verb like this. Lieb haben. It's a similar type of function. So all of these verbs, just to review real fast. So mamשיך sein, to continue, to pursue. Maskim sein. Was heißt maskim sein?
To agree.
To agree.
Hebrew again, Hebrew.
Ja, noch einmal von Hebräisch. Und Lily, wie sagt man I agree auf Yiddish?
In Hebrew?
Auf Yiddish.
Auf Yiddish. Ich hab maskim sein. Ich hab maskim sein.
Nein. So das wird gewähnt in der vergangenen Zeit. Man wird gesagt, ich hab maskim gewähnt. That would be the past tense. Yeah. In the present tense, we would just conjugate sein. So it would be ich bin maskim. And that would not mean I am in agreement, although it kind of sounds like it does. What I'm getting at here is I'm cautioning you away from literally translating both parts of the verb. The most important thing with periphrastic verbs is to think of them as one unit together. So ich bin maskim means I agree. I literally the verb to agree. Ich bin maskim. Another verb that you probably all know already is something like mochel sein. Was heißt mochel sein? Ich bin mochel. What does that mean? Ich bin mochel.
Forgive you.
Good.
Yeah.
I forgive. Exactly right.
Okay.
Exactly right. Ich bin mochel means I forgive. I forgive. Ich bin mochel. Although literally speaking, maybe you might literally translate it as I'm a forgiver or a pardoner or something to that effect.
Right.
I would caution away from this, especially if you have a Hebrew background. I'm thinking maybe of, Lily and maybe Yochanan and maybe others. Try to move away. Although it's helpful to know the Hebrew, try to think of these terms as one verb, one idea expressing one action. So lieb haben is not to have love, it's to love or to like. Maskim sein is not to be in agreement, it's to agree. These aren't passive constructions, they're active verbs. And the reason I bring this up, is because, for example, moire haben, yes, in English we can say I have fear maybe, but that sounds a little weird. In actuality, moire haben means I fear. I fear. Yeah, in English we say I'm afraid or I'm scared, but moire haben is active. It means I fear. Literally, we say ich hab moire vor Spinnen. I fear for spiders. Is literally what you're saying. I fear for spiders. Ich hab moire vor Spinnen. A spin is a spider. A spin. The reason I bring this up is because as Yiddish students and as Yiddish speakers, you're going to run into more and more periphrastic verbs. That take these often Loshen Kodesh beginnings and combine them with Zayin or Haben, just like everything we've listed up to now. However, if you think of them as discrete parts, right? So there's this part we can translate here and this other verb we can translate, and together they make an idea, then you run into issues grammatically. So I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. Here's another verb. Anyone know what it means? Mahriv sein. Mahriv sein. Was heißt Mahriv sein?
It's Hebrew again. מחריב is I forgot the Yiddish. I'm not going to do it. I'm against it, but what's the English?
In this case, it's actually much more intense. This word means to destroy. To destroy.
מחריב, להרוס.
Mahriv sein. It, for example, Lily, for modern Hebrew, it's the same root as churban. Yeah. Yeah. So mahriv sein means to destroy. And here's why this grammatically, for English speakers in particular, and maybe even for Hebrew speakers, can sound a little weird. If in Yiddish, I want to say I destroy, I say ich bin mahriv. Ich bin mahriv. Yeah. And if you translate that literally, you get something like I'm a destroyer or something to that effect, which is actually not what you're saying. You're using an active verb that means to destroy. Mahriv sein. So anyway, this is kind of an impromptu thing. I wasn't actually planning. Oh, Gedala is talking mit uns. This is kind of an impromptu thing. But I just wanted to stress that when we talk about periphrastic verbs, kind of like keep this in your memory. One verb with one active meaning. So lieb haben, to like or love, maskim sein, to agree, und so weiter. Questions on these? We're gonna work on them more as days come, but just kind of as a reminder about how these verbs work. Good. And everyone understands how to conjugate them? Does anyone feel unconfident about that, or?
It would be a good
I am,
news.
because I just joined.
Good. Shalom aleichem, Gedla.
Shalom aleichem.
Good. So we were just talking about periphrastic verbs. These are verbs like maskim sein, mochel sein, moira haben, lieb haben, und so weiter. I was just asking everyone, making sure everyone's on the same page about how to conjugate them, right? So you just take that second verb or the second part of the verb, conjugate it normally, and then add the first part. So ich hab moira, ich hab lieb, ich bin mochel, ich bin maskim,
Oh,
so weiter. Gut. Okay. Dank, Joichanen. Ich gedenk nicht, für was ich habe getracht wegen periphrastischer Verben. Aber, Dank. Dank von uns erzählen wegen dir. Und efter Mark, was machst du?
Mir ist gut. In der Früh bin ich gegangen zum Augendoktor, weil in der Vergangenheit, Jahren zurück, haben die Augen oft geworden sehr geschwollen. Aber jetzt sind die Augen gesund. Ich muss noch gehen zum Doktor.
Ja, gut, ich verstehe. Und nur Dank von erzählen euch eine sehr, sehr kleine grammatische Bemerkung. Wären in the past tense takes sein. So specifically for your Hungarian Yiddish, Mark, you would say zänען geworden. Zänעn geworden. So meine Augen zänעn geworden geschwollen, or was soll das sein? Or actually, in actuality, you'd say it like this: meine Augen zänעn geschwollen geworden. Meine Augen zänעn geschwollen geworden. They were swelled. Or they swelled. Good. Okay. Gut. Dank. Und Gito, was machst du heute?
Ich mach jetzt, mein Wort ist gewesen vernommen.
Ja.
Ich bin nicht sicher, wie die Zeit geht, aber geht sehr schnell.
Ja.
Ich habe eingehäubt zu glätten unsere Taxes,
Ja.
unsere Buchhalter. I had to look that one up. Buchhalter.
Good.
Ich hätte sehr treulich. Mein Cousin's Mann ist gestorben. Ist gewesen Arnie Sklar. Sehr wunderlich Mann und sehr guitar music here from the Grand Park Symphony and euch der Lehrer. Euch Steve Zielinski's wie sagt man, schwer, the father-in-law, Maury Swatke. Und
Lava Shalom. Zachrona Levaraka.
Ja, Zachrona Levaraka.
Jay hat sehr fein gegabend in the show, Jay, for the, yeah.
Hier.
So, bei mir ist gewesen geht und es ist, also ist gewesen, die Woche.
Ja, ich verstehe. Und wie Jochen hat gesagt, Zichroine Levroche. Und ich hoffe, meine Gedanken sind mit euch. Danke. Und nur der Meinung für andere, als Gito hat gesagt, schnell, das ist ein Synonym von Gier. Von Gier. Ja, das ist fast. Ja. Schnell existiert. Aber Gier ist öfter gewöhnlicher, aber nur der Meinung, ja, die andere sollen verstehen, öfter. Gier schnell Synonymen. Ja, Lily.
I have a question. I think I have sight left. Time flies. Like in English, flies. In Yiddish, time, what did I say?
Oh,
Jogt.
No, Jogt is on after someone to Joggen.
You want to say that time flies?
Yeah.
Die Zeit fliegt. Die Zeit fliegt.
Zeit fleet, the Zeit fleet.
Yeah. So it's so look at this. Yeah, so get a cook off this weird verb. Yeah. So die Zeit fliegt. I wrote it in the chat. It's fe lamed yud. It comes from a verb fleeing.
Fleehen, the Zeit fleehen.
Don't you say läuft? Zeit läuft?
Oh, absolutely. Yo, die Zeit läuft.
läuft.
Yeah. Die Zeit läuft. Very good. Yo, die Zeit läuft. Maybe die Zeit läuft is better. Yo, but you can definitely say die Zeit fliegt. I hope it's gehört. And then just a reminder about this weird word to fly, fleeing. Does anyone know the past tense of fleeing?
Gefleet.
Geflickt.
It's weird. It's really weird.
Like geflogen or something.
Good, Mark. Good. Geflogen.
Geflogen.
Geflogen. Yeah.
Geflogen.
And it takes sein. Yeah. It takes sein. So it would be is geflogen or sie is geflogen. Ich bin geflogen. That means he flew, she flew, I flew. Yeah. Ich bin geflogen.
Can I juggen I'm a fleet on the airplane? Geflogen.
Ja, wir können ja sagen, dass wir fliegt auf etwas Aeroplan. Ja, wir können das ja sagen. Ja, but just absolutely, just also a reminder, I know you know this too, but just a reminder too, probably the most common word for all forms of transport though is fahren. Yeah. Yeah, but you can definitely say flee auf an Aeroplan. Ja. Ich habe noch etwas zu sagen, aber es ist weg. Ich gedenk. Gut. Does anyone know the phrase nicht gestiegen, nicht geflogen?
Yeah, of course.
Ja, Lily, du weißt das. Gut. Andere wissen, was das heißt? Nicht gestiegen, nicht geflogen? Okay, ich will es schreiben.
Does it mean not die, nicht gestorben, nicht geflogen? So it's not die, not fly? I mean,
sehr knowend, ja. Nicht gestiegen heißt never arisen.
Oh, never arisen.
And nicht geflogen means never flew or never like floated or was on
It never happened.
Never. Yeah. This is the Yiddish word for BS. Yeah, that's bull crap, maybe. Nicht gestiegen, nicht geflogen. As a language teacher, of course, I have to teach all aspects of the language, including this. So nicht gestiegen, nicht geflogen. Does anyone know why this phrase exists? After Lily, do you know why?
I don't know why, but I know.
Okay, good. So nicht gestiegen, nicht geflogen is a very old phrase in Yiddish. By most accounts of linguists and folklorists, it comes from a denigrating message about Jesus in sort of an anti-Christian time period. Yeah, in sort of an anti-Christian time period, especially when, anti-Jewish violence is very high. Many Yiddish speakers, as a sort of kind of phrase about bullcrap and a kind of pushback against ruling cultural norms, would say nicht gestiegen, nicht geflogen, i.e., he was never resurrected and he never flew. That's where that comes from. Nicht gestiegen, nicht geflogen. Also, there's another phrase that people use when people ask them questions they can't answer. For those of you that know Hebrew, you might have to correct me. But one second. Actually, no, I think I got this one. Here we go. In Yiddish, you can say Shomeroichi Anoichi, was heißt Shomeroichi Anoichi, was heißt auf Ashkenazisch Hebräisch, das heißt, am I my brother's keeper? And that's also a kind of witty, sarcastic way, similar to nicht gestoigen, nicht geflogen, to respond to a question of that you couldn't possibly know the answer to. You know, so just to kind of. Also,
you know, I would read it completely different than you. Shomer achi anochi.
Ja, und das ist so lieb dem, was du redest Ivrit, Take. Ja, mein Hebräisch ist ein Ashkenazisch Hebräisch, was ist ein bisschen älter. Und nicht älter, Menschen nicht in Ashkenazisch Hebräisch, aber nicht so gewöhnlich wie Ivrit ist halt. Ja. Ich meine es spezifisch bei Chassidim, nicht meine Sache Ashkenazisch Hebräisch. Ja, also ich meine es Chassidim wird gesagt, öfter Shomerochi Anoichi oder etwas so. Yeah, but that in Hebrew just means keeper of my brother am I, or am I my brother's keeper? It's kind of a way just to respond to questions you don't know the answer to. Good. Und fahr ich vergess. I was showing this at the beginning of class, Genela. This is my copy of Shike Driz in Yiddish here from the Soviet Union in 1969.
Wow, it's Shike Driz?
Yeah, it says right here, Shike.
I see. I recognize that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. And you have a real copy from.
It was a little lucky because I got a gift from a friend and it ended up being Shike, and I was like, oh, I need to show this. So
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's called Die Vierte Strune. Die Vierte Strune. Lily hat gekannt das Wort von Russisch, Strune, like the wie sagt man auf Englisch? The string of a musical instrument. You know, a strune.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I know what you're talking about.
Ja, gut. Okay. Nu, dank. Okay. Wir sollen öfter weitergehen. Lily, was machst du heute?
Danke, ich bin in Ordnung. Mein Sohn ist gewesen da vor 2 Tagen mit Klar. Ich bin in Miami bis 2 Monaten.
Is his house in Miami?
It's sehr heiß. 80 Grad.
Oi.
I say to you.
Alle war auf uns gesagt.
It will, but it's geht zu russische Theater. Master and Margarita is.
Wow.
It is sehr, how will you say, famous? Sehr
berühmt.
Buch written by Bulgakov. Anyway, sehr schwer to understand, but sehr philosophisch.
Ja. Ist dort Tage ein russischer Theater in Miami?
No, they come from Moscow.
Ah, okay.
They come, but in Miami, there are some russische Leute.
Gut. So. Russische Leute. Ja,
russische, nicht Iden. Russische von Russland.
Ah, gut. Und ja, ob man will sagen, ja, Russisch, ob sie kommen von Russland. If you want to say Russian speaking, you can say Russisch reden dicke Menschen. Russisch reden dicke Menschen.
Nicht Iden. Sag Iden von Russland.
Ja.
Sag russische, nicht Iden.
Was Theater ist das?
Was hast du gesagt?
Was Theater ist das?
Ich weiß nicht. I don't know. A friend bought me a ticket. I will let you know.
Okay.
Gut. Nu, soll sein mit der Noah.
Sag Theater in Moskau.
In Moskau, ja.
Sag Theater in Moskau.
Ein Tag will ich sich lernen Russisch. Efter nicht morgen.
A schwere language.
Sprach, du kennst das.
Welche Sprache? Nee.
Der grammatische.
Nee, für mich.
Für mir euch. Ja. Ich gewinne auf Russisch.
Für mein Leben.
Ja.
Was hast du gesagt, Lily?
Ich habe gewinne einen Lehrerkurs auf Russisch.
Oh, danke.
Sprache. Ja,
Sehr schön. Sehr schön.
das sagt er.
Efter will ich pflegen bei dir, wenn ich Hebon zu lernen.
Okay, gemacht ein Geschäft.
Gut. Gut. Okay, und ich darf euch folgende Wade bei Anthea. Anthea, was machst du?
Dirk, ich will euch jetzt sagen, dass da ist viel jüdische Menschen da in meiner Medina. Und sie so, als die Medina ist die neue Jerusalem von die West. You know, Florida is the, I mean, dem Medina.
Ja.
Sehr viel jeden
Ja.
was gekommen von die Covid echt. You know, viel jeden haben gekommen zu leben da.
Ja.
Was heißt das Leben, ne? Nein,
Ja,
nicht leben.
Leben oder öfter zu wohnen dort.
Zu wohnen.
Ja.
Meine Woche war ein bisschen schwer. Mein Mann hat gehabt, war krank und hat, ich weiß nicht, was ruft man the back, your back. It's not zurück.
Der Rücken.
Der Rücken.
Rücken.
Okay.
Was ist ein Pleitzel?
Okay, 1 Sekunde, Anthea. Sei mir mal. Ja, so der Rücken is the back.
Rücken?
And the places are your shoulders. You know, your places are your shoulders.
Verstehe. Dank. Okay.
Ganz vom Arsch.
So die Rücken, seine Rücken, weil sei schwer zu what's walk to
gehen.
zu gehen. Ja, er kann nicht gehen, er muss liegen. Und ich kann nicht aufheben. So, ich hab geklingen die 911. 911. Und sie haben Gicht gekommen und ihm zu nehmen zu die Emergency Zimmer. Right? Und sie haben alles getan, zu auszufinden, was ist das, sie gedenken, mit der Kanker, aber dank Gott, das was nicht das. And there's noch what is the back again? I've got to write it down.
Der
Rücken.
Okay, so der Rücken is das ist der Rücken und das ist all. So it's a heim now. And besser, ein bisschen besser.
Gut, nu, aber vorschläge ihm und sei mir mal, was wenn das also geschehen ist. Ja, das ist schwer. Ja, aber Dank während der Erzählung.
Und letzte Woche ich bin nicht da because of that. But anyway.
Ich verstehe im Ganzen. Ja, gut. Wie ich habe gesagt, vorschläge ihm und ich hoffe, sein Rücken wird sich besser bald, sehr bald. Und efter gut, ja, und wie ich habe gesagt, der Rücken ist der Back, die Places sind da.
Places is the shoulder, right?
Ja, das ist dein Shoulder, ja, die Places. Ja. Die Vokabular, was wir nutzen für den Körper. Was ist ein Körper?
Body.
Ja, für den Körper. zähnen sehr schikave, weil ein paar nehmen sich von Germanisch und ein paar nehmen sich von Slawisch. Das ist ein bisschen ein Gemisch, ja. Als Rücken, das kommt von germanischen Sprachen, aber die Plätze, ich meine, das ist Tag erst.
Ja, Russian ist Plechi.
Ja, das ist so. Gut. Gut, und Gennele, was machst du heute?
Oh, ja, sehr gut, sehr gut. Ich habe eine gute Woche. Ich habe nicht viel zu erzählen heute.
Gut.
My class is how to say cancelled?
Canceled. It depends in what context. Do you like your class was canceled?
Was almost cancelled.
Mein Kurs hat sich gemacht.
Let's call it
annullieren.
Annullieren.
Ja.
My class is kumat annullieren. Kind.
Ja.
Wel von meeting. How to say meeting?
A meeting is a Treffung. Die Treffung.
Die Treffung in Arbeit.
Ja.
Aber Treffung meeting?
Was?
Meeting, I forgot.
It's I wrote it in the chat for your convenience. It's Treffung.
Treffung. Aber die Treffung is cancelled.
Ja, die Treffung ist annulliert geworden.
Annullieren. Oh. Aber die Treffung is annullieren geworden.
Ja.
Es ist gewesen schwer zu hold on. Das ist gelöst, but okay, hold on. Es ist gewesen schwer zu mir zu verbieten zu die Class, weil von Zoom Connect.
Ja, gut. Alles in Ordnung, General, alles in Ordnung. Und du hast nicht gehört, weil du bist nicht gewesen mit uns. Aber ich habe gesagt zu Karen, I told Carrie that very soon, starting probably in March, we should be able to return to our usual class time here for work schedule reasons.
No, it's good. It's good. It's not a problem.
No, I know, but I'm just letting you know that we should be able to return to the 1 to 2
I see.
if that's easier.
Okay. Ich hab lieb in der Yiddish class.
Ja, ich euch.
Als ich hab das jetzt gehabt zu führen.
Gut.
Das class is a Messiah.
Gut. Es ist mir euch Machaya. Ja. Und
Zoi.
gut. Okay. Wir haben ein bisschen unter 30 Minuten, wir sollen weg. Das heißt, ich soll öfter anheben zu reden wegen Grammatik. Und das heißt, die kommende Woche wollen wir weiter wollen wir gehen weiter und mamshich sein. I see my head got all mixed up. I said weiter sein, thinking of mamshich sein. Oy vey. But ja, wir wollen mamshich sein mit Grammatik die kommende Woche. But for now, we can at least get a good start on it. My hope is for today, I was also maybe going to do a song, but considering time reasons, this is good. I love chatting with, actually, I'm realizing as I'm talking that my internet connection is unstable. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay,
Ja.
good. Ich habe weiter gehabt, dass öfter meine Verbindung ist gewesen. Nicht so.
Hast du a cult in nose?
Ja, das ist was
Ja,
ich hab nicht kein Kalt, aber meine Allergien sind zurück. Sie sind zurück mit der Nakome, ja, und zu lieb, mein Nose ist ein bisschen
ja, ich kann hören.
Ja, sei mir mal.
Das ist nicht, das ist important. What is it?
Nicht wichtig.
Wichtig,
Ja. Ja, sei mir moichel, was du kennst das Herren, aber nu, es ist nicht so keine Sache, was ich kennt, ich darf warten, ich darf warten. Mein Moichel. Okay, gut. Alles in Ordnung. Okay. Wie ich habe gesagt, wir wollen arbeiten mit ein bisschen Grammatik und die kommende Woche wollen wir mamשיך sein mit the rest of the lesson and also the song and everything. Good. So for today, I have in mind ich habe Badeya. That means to have in mind. Ich habe Badeya. Let me write that out. This is another kind of phrase. Ich habe Badeya. Ich habe Badeya means I have in mind. Yeah. Ich habe So I have in mind, ich habe Badeya zu reden wegen Präfixen und Konverben. Yeah, so that means prefixes and separable prefixes. Yeah, so the word for prefix in Yiddish is der Präfix. Der Präfix. Der Präfix. The word for separable prefix, although the same word in English, is actually der Konverb in Yiddish. Der Konverb. I've definitely talked about this a little bit before, but I'm hoping for the next session or two to really kind of dive into the Yiddish verb and help us kind of understand what's happening in a verb, and also particularly how verbs change and add meaning. And I know all of you are familiar with prefixes because you use them all the time in your speech, and when I hear from you and when I talk to you. But I think we can all benefit maybe from this review, and also just to kind of go over the basics of how all these prefixes work, particularly because even native speakers struggle with prefixes. They can be somewhat difficult. Good. So today we're not going to work on Konverben, so not separable prefixes. That's things like ich heb on, ich nehm on, ich stell op, those kind of things. So aufstellen, on, nehmen, on, heben, that kind of stuff. Prefixen, on the other hand, are non-removable. They are a fixed part of the verb. So examples of these would be things like far, in words like verteichen, vergehen, verzogen, verbeten, was soll nicht sein, far.
Vergessen. Vergessen.
Vergessen. Vergessen. Euch Präfixen wie ge, in gewinnen, geschehen, und andere Wörter. Präfixen wie ba, in bakumen, bakloppen, was soll es sein? Ja? Auf Jiddisch ist es da 6 Präfixen. Ja? Das ist in total, completely. Ja, in total. Wie sagt man auf Englisch? Ich habe vergessen auf Englisch. In total. In total. Ich habe vergessen, wie es sagt das auf Englisch. Ja? So there's 6 prefixes in total. Yeah, 6 prefixes in total. Good, and we're going to go ahead and do a quick sort of review, or maybe even less if you haven't seen them already, but what they do, how they work, etc. So when I'm talking about prefixes, like I mentioned, let me go ahead and write them out here. Prefixen. These are prefixes. Yeah, these
Prefixen.
are. Ja, Präfixen. These are parts of the verbs that entail from the verb, was we can nicht spalten. We can't separate them from the verb. They are parts of the verb. They don't pop off, and also importantly, they're not stressed. So what I mean by that is, I'm going to go ahead and write them out. We have far, ba, ge, tse, farba, ge, tse, ant, and another that just flew out of my mind. Farba, ge, tse, ant. Oi, it'll come to me by the time I get there. Good. So these are prefixes in Yiddish, and what I mean by prefixes, like I said, is these are things we add to verbs to give them new nuances and meanings. It's very similar to English prefixes, right? So we have prefixes like to beget, to redo, to whatever it is, to forget. For a long time ago used to be this a prefix like this. For is a cognative far. You know?
Yes.
So they add nuances and meanings to our verb. The thing that can be difficult though with prefixes is that no prefix has one set meaning. You know, there's no unfortunately, and I wish I could do this. I wish I could say this prefix always means this and this prefix always means this, but that is not actually the case in Yiddish. You know, so what I'm going to do today is give you guys a few introductory definitions to how these prefixes work and what they mean that might help you decode verbs you run into in the future and also understand the words you already know. Yeah. So we might start with a prefix like far. Far is interesting because actually I'm going to build these up as I go so I have more room. Far is interesting because far can actually mean a whole bunch of things, as I'm sure you probably are aware. One of these is the eyes ending in English. Oh, I wrote that backwards like it was Yiddish. Eyes. You know, I'm thinking my Yiddish.
Suspessor.
Yeah, eyes. So what I mean by eyes is I mean to Yiddishize, to anglicize, to something eyes, to make something else. You know, so we get words like, one second, far. Farteichen. This means to Yiddishize something.
Isn't it to Farteichen is to translate? Also?
Exactly correct. So Farteichen literally means to Yiddishize something, to make something Yiddish, i.e. to translate it into Yiddish. Yeah, Farteichen, translate into Yiddish. Yo, translate into.
Does it have to be Yiddish?
Farteichen really does refer to Yiddish, you know, Farteichen, because it has that word teich in it, which is a very, very old, centuries old word for German, but has taken on the meaning of Yiddish because the reason is in Cheder, so for those who are not familiar with this term, this school for usually boys in kind of smaller Eastern European Jewish life, often the way of teaching was these boys would be brought to school. They would put a chumash, they'd put a Torah in front of them. Then they'd go, okay, teich it. So read the Hebrew and translate it into teich, into Yiddish, into our German. You know, so that's where this word comes from, farteichen. So it means to Yiddishize. So they'd say farteich die Wörter, farteich das Lashon Kodesh. To Yiddishize it, make it understandable. Yeah, Lily.
And what's the word for translate them?
The word for translate generally is übersetzen.
Übersetzen, yeah.
But for Taichen, it's only translation to Yiddish.
Really, yeah. I mean, maybe you could use it in other contexts, but that's the connotation it has.
Hebrew lesson.
Yeah.
Or you can use it as to make it Jewish for Taichen.
Yeah, or even if you wanted to like Jewish size something or even Yiddish also, you could there is a verb that's far Yiddishen.
Oh, for Yiddish. Okay. For that matter, we'll use Yiddish, not as German. Okay.
Yo, far Yiddishen epis means to make it Yiddish-like. Far Yiddishen something. Yo.
I see.
So it's to make something, to far something into something else, to make it like something else. Yo, so far Yiddishen, far Taichen. There's a very famous phrase in Yiddish, which is kind of amended to lots of Yiddish translations. So these are translations into Yiddish, which is verteidigt und verbessert.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, good, Lily. Good, yeah, verteidigt und verbessert. That means it's been brought into Yiddish and also edited and made better. Yeah, so verteidigt und verbessert.
You know, the joke is, I will say in English,
Sure.
When Shakespeare plays used to come to shtetls, they would do the advertisement, verteidigt und verbessert. Verbessert is also to improve.
Yeah.
So it was translated and improved.
Yeah. Yeah. Emes. Danke, Emes. Yeah. So verteidigt und verbessert. That's where this far comes from. Far also can mean an emphasis of meaning, or it can mean an excess of meaning. So what I mean by that is something like if someone vertrinken,
Verschwitzt.
Ja.
Verlieben.
Verlieben. Ja, was heißt verliebt und vertrinken?
Could that be drunk? The first word could be drunk.
Yeah, not just
Drinking?
drunk. Yeah, not just drunk or drink a little bit, but we're talking if is vertrunken geworden, he's over his limit. Yeah, he's
Over the top.
very
He's over the top.
Vertrunken.
Vertrunken is verschickert.
yeah, it's verschickert. Yeah, it's verschickert. He's very, very intoxicated. Yeah, so it has to do with excess or emphasis on the meaning. Yeah, so if someone is verliebt in someone, is verliebt in ihr, that means he's head over heels in love for her. Yeah, is verliebt in ihr. Is verliebt in ihr. So far can mean an excess or an emphasis. Yeah. So again, this is already two kind of almost contrasting meanings. It's your job as Yiddish speakers to kind of figure out the context. Yeah. But what I'm trying to do is give you at least a list where if you're looking for what the prefix could mean or how to understand it, you have sort of a key to it. Yeah. So this is to emphasis or excess, like vertrinken or verliebt. Then this is where far gets a little confusing sometimes. It can also mean a negation or the opposite of what's being said. I'll give you an example. We have gayen. And then what does fargayen mean?
Okay.
When too much, when too wrong. When too much, or like the wrong, took the wrong turn, or
Nee, so if I said is vergangen, was heißt das? Is vergangen.
No.
I always thought that vergangen would mean like to go to a place or have left a place or
The second. Yeah, so gayen means
To go.
to go, usually go to a place.
So vergangen is to leave.
like
Yeah,
he
and
left, he's
fargayen
gone.
means to go away,
To go away.
to leave, to disappear.
Geh weg.
Yeah,
Get
vekgayen,
place.
Vergehen.
vekgayen is very similar to fargayen. Yeah, but fargayen is the opposite of gayen. So gayen zu mark, fargayen Denmark would mean to leave the market. Yeah, it's the opposite direction, the opposite meaning.
Vergehen.
Yeah, fargayen. Same thing with something like
And then would it be like verlosen? Verlosen.
farlosen, similar. Yeah, so
get lost.
farlosen
Yeah.
means very similar to fargayen.
Lose.
Farlosen means to leave actually a place. You know, like hat verlost die Kino. You know, he left the theater. You know, hat verlost. It was his own design. So yeah, so far can have these sorts of nuances.
What about vermischt? I've always heard vermischt.
Vermischt.
Sehr vermischt.
Vermischt would be the second one. Yeah, so it's an emphasis or an
Emphasis
excess
on
on
being.
mission. Yeah, is vermischt. He's, you know, he's all mixed up, and it's not just a little bit mixed up. He's completely
lot mixed up.
is vermischt. Yeah, so that's where this comes from. You know, something I need to mention about these prefixes is that unlike separable prefixes, and when I say separable prefixes, I mean things like onheben, opstellen, onnemen, oiskiffen, whatever. Yeah, those are separable prefixes. We'll worry about those later. For prefixes, just these prefixes that I'm listing here, they're never stressed. You know, so it's not fargayen, it's fargayen. You know, and it's not farteichen, it's verteichen. You know, and it's not, you know, fartrinken, it's vertrinken. You know, it sounds like a very small difference, but it's noticeable to the Yiddish speaker's ear. You know,
Sure.
and also, this is kind of a big key that helped me when I was first started studying Yiddish. If it's not stressed, it cannot be a separable prefix verb or a separable prefix. You know,
Zeg
so what I
nog
mean-
eenmaal.
if it's not stressed, you know, so if it's not stressed, it cannot be a separable prefix. You know,
Dank,
all,
ik verstehe.
all separable prefixes are stressed. You can hear the emphasis. You know, oiskifinnen, onnemen, onheben, und so weiter. You know, weggehen, durchgehen. There's a huge amount of stress on that sound. That never happens with prefixes. So even if you forget this list of the 6 prefixes, if you pay attention to stress, you can also figure out what means what. You know? So this is kind of the meaning of far, the first one. I'm also going to touch on another one before we run out of time. And I'm going through these slowly, specifically because I think most people don't pay enough attention to them because they're really important parts of the language, you know, and I want to make sure we all have as rich as possible understanding of what they do.
Oh, it's builds our vocabulary.
Yeah. So we have this word se, or this prefix se. Se. Does anyone? There are really 2 main meanings of se. The first is an idea of spontaneity. So I'll give you an example. What does this word mean? Does anyone know? Se lachen sich.
To spontaneously start laughing.
Exactly, Lily. So to lachen sich means to break out in laughter.
Break out laughing, yeah. To lachen, yeah.
It means to break out in laughter. It means out of nowhere, you start laughing. So for example, if I said, hat sich zerlacht. So ich hab ihm erzählt a Witz und hat sich zerlacht. I told him a joke and he broke out in laughter. Zerlachen sich. What about zerweinen sich?
Well, does that mean cry?
Break out and
Break out.
start weeping.
It means to start crying or start weeping. To break out in tears. To break out in tears. You see the pattern? Zerweinen, zerlachen. You can do this with really so many.
To quellen.
It hat sich zerquält. I don't see why you couldn't. I've never heard it before, but I bet you could make it. I bet you could make it.
Is it also to singen?
Singen. That's if you wrote singen, people would understand what you mean, but I've never seen it before.
Don't you say
Oh, so be careful, So this is se, not su, right? So Shmuzing means to sing.
Oh.
Singing would mean to break out in song.
So I'm thinking of choosing then.
Yeah. So just be careful. This is not the to preposition or the to converb, the to separable prefix. This is se. Se. And things like se lachen or zerweinen or other kind of, or zu schrien. To break out in screams, zu schrien, was is on sein. That's the first meaning of tse. And then there's a really useful second meaning, which has to do with, I guess the best way to summarize it is in parts, or to break into parts. I'll show you what I mean. We have great words in Yiddish that are really useful, like
Zerbrochen.
Zerbrochen. I'll do both. I'll start with that. Zerbrechen. That's actually the infinitive. Zerbrechen. It's the Yochanan for your reference. Zerbrochen is the past tense in the adjective. So as is.
My bicycle is zerbrochen. So my bicycle. Okay.
Exactly. It's the past tense in the adjective versus zerbrechen is the infinitive. Zerbrechen is the infinitive.
Break.
And so, but it doesn't just mean to break. Look at this part. In parts, break into parts. It means to shatter. Shatter, broken beyond repair. That's zerbrechen or zerbrochen. So it's to break into parts. So for example, can you all still hear me? I think my internet's going weird. Okay, good. So for example, I could say mein Auto is gebrochen, and what would that mean if my Auto is gebrochen?
The car.
My car is broken. Now, what would it mean if I said mein Teppel? Was is a Teppel?
It's like
vessel.
Yeah,
So
it's like a little like skillet or a pot or something.
Yeah.
What if I said mein Teppel is zerbrochen? What would that mean?
You can't cook in it. It's gone.
Unless you glue it together.
Yeah, not only is it broken, it's shattered.
Yeah.
Yeah, or mein Glas is zerbrochen. It's in a bunch of pieces on the floor. It's zerbrochen. Yeah. However, this doesn't just have to do with physical apartness. This will be the last thing we do before we have to go, unfortunately. It doesn't just have to do with physical apartness. It can also do with words like this. So if you had to translate tseshiken, what would you translate that as?
Descend.
Descend something?
Descend.
But let's incorporate this second meaning, descend in parts. What does that mean?
Chicken.
To
To
distribute.
distribute, descend to a bunch of people. Yeah, to distribute.
Chicken
You're spreading out. You're sending a bunch of different things. Distribute. Yeah. So, for example, if a company was putting out a bunch of advertisement flyers, they might das Geschäft hat das zerschickt.
It's a logistic company.
Yeah, they distributed it out in parts. You know, all these different parts were set to a bunch of different places. You know, zeschicken. Or another word that's really useful is something like zeschaden. Anyone know what this means? It means to distinguish. To distinguish different parts of something. Yeah. So shaden on its own, it's a part of untershade, a difference. Yeah. So shaden means to distinguish parts of something or to separate and distinguish something into parts. So for example, if I say ich zerscheid zwischen Kollieren, I'm distinguishing between different colors. Yeah. Ich zerscheid zwischen Kollieren. That effect. Yeah. Any questions on this prefix se?
Oh, it's good.
Good. And then obviously you have things like, to platzen, to explode, to platzen, to explode, right?
Right.
But then now you know. So if platzen means to burst outward or explode, what does platzen really mean?
You're laughing so much, you're platzing.
Exactly. You're breaking off in a bunch of different places. It's an explosion.
Blown to bits.
Pieces. Yeah, blown to bits. Exactly, Yochanan. Blown to bits. Good. No good. Okay, so that means next week we're going to continue with more prefixes and work on kind of understanding verbs and giving all of you more vocabulary. More
sounds good.
More precise words you guys can use to kind of distinguish between different shades of meaning. Good. Dank euch. And if there are no questions,
one quick thing. Ich habe eine Frage. So basically, just a pure curiosity, because my wife and her family, we do have some saying, and Yiddish saying, basically, and nobody remembers what that stands for, because their great grandmother used to say it when she wanted to bless somebody or whatever, to do certain things, somebody, and she would say, oh, go for your exam, and she was saying the phrase, and basically translating it, that doesn't make any sense for me. So, but I was wondering, maybe you would know what is that. And the saying is, Gitze Militzen was stehen reden. I probably...
Noch einmal, und Amelicher.
Gitze Militzen was stehen reden.
So the last part is probably...
Stehen reden.
Was steht in the regen, so someone who's standing in rain. But the first part... the first part I don't know. One more time.
What's a militzen? I think Gita is
it depends. So
is it give an umbrella to somebody standing in the rain?
Can sein.
Oh, give a militz. Oh, what's a militzen?
Well, a Malitza, this is a bit so complicated. As a Malitza is a Hebrew word, and it has to do with something that I don't think is related to this.
I don't think.
Yeah, so
Maybe militia is like militia, but it makes sense.
yeah, so the Yiddish word for umbrella is a shirim. A shirim.
It could be actually, because if you're gonna to do something, you need to have some. That's
Yeah, no.
but nobody knows now. So.
I'll think about it and see if next time I have an idea.
Yeah, if you think of could you? So because she was asking me, and I got curious myself. So,
Yeah.
because we always saying that, and it's in your family. We always saying it when somebody.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Ich sag,
Ja.
Heute guten Tag.
Yeah, the last thing I'll leave everyone with real fast is just speaking of sayings. This one is something I'll explain next time because I don't have time, but I think maybe this is catering too much to Yochanan, who I think definitely will appreciate this, and maybe Lily too. It's B'mokim she'ein ish is a herring oich a fish.
במקום שאין איש, in Hebrew, write it down again, במקום שאין איש, what was the המשך?
Is a herring oich a fish.
Of course.
Yeah, good.
A place that doesn't have people, herring is also a fish.
Yo, it's a quotation from I think Pirkei Ovis. So b'mokim she'ein ish, in the place where there's no men, be a man, or something to that effect. B'mokim she'ein ish is a herring oich a fish. So in cases where you don't have something can substitute. Anyway, okay, we'll talk about it more next time. We have to go.
Okay, have a good week.
Thank you. Sis gewinnen, Mechaya.
Good. Die allemaal. Seid mir gesund.
Seid gesund.
Okay, thank you. Dank, Eyshe.
Avade.
Bye-bye.
Seid mir gesund.
Bye.